The wrestling world just witnessed something absolutely insane that nobody saw coming, and trust me when I say this moment is going to be talked about for years to come, because what went down on Smackdown this past Friday night was nothing short of explosive, and if you blink you might have missed one of the most shocking returns and brutal beatdowns in recent WWE history. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now because you won't want to miss a single moment of what's coming next. Jacob Fatu made his long-awaited return to WWE television, and he didn't just walk back through those curtains for a simple appearance or a quick promo segment, because this man came back with a mission, and that mission involved one of the most dominant forces in WWE history. The Samoan werewolf had been away from our screens dealing with injuries and personal matters, but his absence only made the anticipation for his comeback grow stronger with each passing week. Fans had been speculating about when he would return, and more importantly who would be on the receiving end of his fury once he stepped back into that squared circle. Well, those questions got answered in the most violent way possible when Brock Lesnar became the target of Fatu's rage. The Beast incarnate was in the middle of the ring cutting one of his typical intense promos with Paul Heyman by his side, doing what he does best, which is hyping up his client and reminding everyone why Lesnar is still one of the most feared competitors in all of professional wrestling. Lesnar had been on an absolute tear lately, destroying everyone in his path and making it clear that he was coming for championship gold once again. The audience was hanging on every word as Heyman painted the picture of Lesnar's dominance and future conquests, but then the arena went completely dark. The lights cutting out sent an immediate buzz through the crowd because everyone knew something major was about to happen, and when those lights came back on, Jacob Fatu was standing at the top of the entrance ramp with a look in his eyes that could only be described as pure hatred. The reaction from the audience was deafening as fans jumped to their feet realizing they were about to witness something special. Fatu didn't waste a single second with theatrics or mind games because he sprinted down that ramp with the intensity of a freight train that had been let loose from its tracks. Lesnar turned to face the incoming threat, and for a moment you could see even the Beast look surprised by the sudden attack, but there was no time to prepare because Fatu launched himself into the ring and immediately went after Lesnar with a fury that seemed almost personal. The two behemoths collided in the center of the ring, and it was like watching two mountains crash into each other, with the impact reverberating throughout the entire arena. Fatu unleashed a barrage of strikes that had Lesnar reeling backwards, and this wasn't the typical back-and-forth exchange you see in wrestling matches because Fatu was completely relentless in his assault. Paul Heyman scrambled out of the ring as fast as his legs could carry him because he wanted no part of what was happening inside those ropes, and honestly, who could blame him? Lesnar tried to fight back and mount some offense because this is Brock Lesnar we're talking about, and he doesn't go down without a fight, but Fatu was operating on another level entirely. Every time Lesnar attempted to create some separation or land one of his signature suplexes, Fatu would counter with devastating strikes and powerful moves that kept the former WWE champion on the defensive. The beating continued as Fatu drove Lesnar into the corner and began delivering brutal hip attacks that are his signature, and each one landed with sickening impact that you could hear throughout the arena. Lesnar slumped down in the corner and Fatu backed up only to charge forward again with another crushing hip attack that nearly sent Lesnar through the turnbuckles. The crowd was going absolutely insane because they couldn't believe what they were witnessing, and neither could the commentary team, who were struggling to find words to adequately describe the dominance on display. Security personnel started flooding the ring trying to pull Fatu away from Lesnar, but he was like a man possessed and he tossed security guards aside like they were nothing more than annoying obstacles in his path. One security guard got lifted up and thrown over the top rope while another ate a super kick that sent him crashing to the mat in a heap. The numbers game eventually started to overwhelm Fatu as more and more officials and security members piled into the ring, but even then he was still trying to get his hands on Lesnar, who was being protected by a wall of bodies. Referees and WWE officials were shouting for order and trying to restore some sense of control to the situation, but Fatu finally broke through the human barrier one more time and grabbed Lesnar by the head. He pulled the Beast to his feet and delivered a massive headbutt that echoed through the arena and dropped Lesnar right back down to the canvas. That seemed to be the exclamation point on the assault as more personnel finally managed to drag Fatu towards the ropes and force him out of the ring, but the damage had already been done. Lesnar was left lying in the middle of the ring looking dazed and confused, which is not something anyone ever expects to see from someone of his caliber and reputation. Medical staff rushed to check on him while Paul Heyman paced around ringside absolutely beside himself with shock and anger. The camera cut to Fatu, who was being held back at the top of the ramp by security and officials, but he was still trying to break free and get back to the ring. His intensity never wavered for even a second, and the look on his face made it crystal clear that this was far from over. The implications of this attack are massive because we're talking about Jacob Fatu returning and immediately targeting one of the biggest names in WWE history. This isn't some random assault on a mid-card talent or a surprise attack on an unsuspecting rookie, because Fatu chose to make his statement by going after Brock Lesnar himself. That takes a special kind of confidence, and it also raises so many questions about what's next for both men. Does this mean we're going to see a feud between these two absolute monsters, and if so, what kind of destruction are they going to bring to WWE programming in the coming weeks and months? The history between these two isn't something that's been heavily documented on WWE television, but anyone who knows their wrestling history understands the Samoan dynasty connection and the respect or lack thereof that exists between different branches of that legendary family tree. Fatu represents a new generation of dominant Samoan wrestlers who are looking to establish their own legacy, and what better way to do that than by taking down someone like Brock Lesnar, who has been at the top of the industry for over 2 decades. This attack sends a message not just to Lesnar but to the entire WWE roster that Jacob Fatu is back and he's coming for everything. The aftermath of the attack saw Lesnar finally getting help to his feet, and he immediately pushed away the medical staff because his pride wouldn't allow him to show any weakness even after taking such a beating. He grabbed a microphone from ringside, and despite being visibly shaken he managed to get out a few words promising that Fatu had just made the biggest mistake of his life. The intensity in Lesnar's voice was real, and you could tell that he was not going to let this slide because nobody attacks Brock Lesnar and walks away without facing severe consequences. Social media exploded immediately after the segment, with fans losing their minds over what they had just witnessed. Wrestling websites and news outlets started pumping out articles trying to break down every aspect of the attack and speculate about where this storyline might be heading. The consensus seems to be that WWE has something major planned for these two, and if they're smart they'll run with this momentum and give fans the kind of hard-hitting feud that both men are capable of delivering. The potential for incredible matches and segments between Fatu and Lesnar is through the roof because both men excel at physical storytelling and brutality. Backstage interviews following the attack showed various WWE superstars giving their reactions, and everyone seemed shocked that someone had the audacity to go after Lesnar like that. Some wrestlers expressed concern for their own safety now that Fatu is back and clearly in a destructive mood, while others seemed almost pleased that someone had finally stood up to Lesnar and showed him that he's not untouchable. The locker room dynamics are going to be fascinating to watch as this situation develops, because alignments and alliances might shift depending on how things play out between these two forces. The question on everyone's mind now is what happens next, because WWE Creative has been handed a golden opportunity to build something truly special here. Do they immediately book a match between Fatu and Lesnar, or do they let the tension simmer and build over several weeks with more confrontations and attacks? The smart money seems to be on letting this thing breathe a little bit and allowing the animosity to grow before pulling the trigger on their first official match. That being said, WWE has been known to strike while the iron is hot, so we could very well see these two collide at the next premium live event. From a storytelling perspective, this return and attack was executed perfectly because it gave Fatu instant credibility by having him dominate someone of Lesnar's stature. Too often returning wrestlers come back and have to slowly build their way back up the card, but Fatu skipped all of that and went straight to the top by targeting the Beast incarnate. This bold move positions him as an immediate main event level threat, and it makes fans take notice in a way that a typical return promo or mid-card feud never could have accomplished. The physical nature of the attack also plays perfectly into what both men do best, because neither Fatu nor Lesnar are known for their technical wrestling prowess or high-flying abilities, but rather their raw power and ability to inflict punishment on their opponents. A feud between these two is going to be built on hard-hitting action and believable intensity that will have fans on the edge of their seats every time they share the screen. The potential for weapons-based matches or no disqualification stipulations is also incredibly high, because that's where both men can truly shine and show off what makes them special. Looking at the bigger picture, this return and attack could also have implications for other storylines currently happening on Smackdown. If Fatu is back and looking to make a name for himself by taking down top stars, then who else might be on his hit list? Could we see him eventually cross paths with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, or perhaps he's looking to forge his own path separate from that family drama? The possibilities are endless, and that's what makes this return so exciting, because it opens up so many different storytelling avenues that WWE can explore. The wrestling business thrives on moments that create genuine shock and surprise, and what happened on SmackDown absolutely qualifies as one of those moments. In an era where so much information leaks out before it happens and surprises are hard to come by, WWE managed to keep this return under wraps and deliver something that had fans genuinely surprised and excited. That's becoming increasingly rare in today's world of social media and dirt sheet reporting, so credit has to be given to everyone involved for maintaining secrecy around this angle. As we move forward, the anticipation for what comes next is at an all-time high, because everyone wants to see how Brock Lesnar responds to this attack and whether Jacob Fatu can back up his bold statement. The beauty of this feud is that both men are believable as legitimate threats who can destroy anyone in their path, so the matches and segments between them should feel important and consequential. This isn't going to be some throwaway feud that gets forgotten after a few weeks, because both men carry too much weight and credibility for that to happen. Make sure you stay tuned, because this story is just getting started, and if the return and attack were any indication of what's to come, then we're in for an absolutely wild ride. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on this developing situation, because things are moving fast and you won't want to be left behind when the next chapter of this rivalry unfolds before our eyes.